Welcome back, guys. This is part 3 of As a Man Thinketh. And this part continues on from the point from effect of thought on the health and body, and then it's going to talk about purpose, and we're going to go into that as well. So, hey guys, so I know these are a little bit longer videos. I've gotten some comments about that. You guys can speed up the speed of the video, 1.5. You can even watch it on 2x. And you can also watch these like as you're going about your day, or even just listen to them as you're doing whatever, dishes, errands, anything like that. You are going to get a lot more out of understanding this information, taking this in about the foundations of the mind and thought and how this all works than a lot of the other content out there going forward with whatever it is that you're looking to bring into your life. The body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. We see this anecdotally around us. You see people that have a bright and sunny disposition that are just, they look youthful, even people that are in their, you could call golden years, or people that are, and then there's people that are younger actually, that are actually just look, it's written all over their face almost, the types of things and thoughts and just the type of vibration that they're in, because the thoughts obviously are vibrating out, as we know. So, but now we also have the science to back this up. Joe Dispenza has done a lot of this using brain scans, using this technology. We can see that by harboring negative thoughts, thoughts of ill intent, thoughts of lower emotions, shame, guilt, on that scale of consciousness that we refer to from David Hawkins, it actually does contribute to these diseases. And more often than not, in a lot of ancient medicines, ancient Chinese medicine, all these things, there are, with reflexology on your feet, they're connected with the organs. And I've actually been working with somebody, he can feel different parts of strain and stress and tension in the body just from the feet. And there's an energetic thing with this too. When we begin to feel certain thoughts and have certain emotions, they're tied with different organs in the body. So there's really, really something to this. And I'm just going to go on, continue reading here, but I'm just telling you guys, science is really and catching up to all these ancient types of teachings and ancient philosophies, but also Chinese medicine and ancient forms of medicine. So disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, and they're continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. There's actually, I've heard these stories as well of people that have been diagnosed with diseases, and there was actually like a false diagnosis and the person died. So that's just going to show you how powerful these thoughts are. Because the person started expecting and thinking they were going to die, they actually died. And the reverse as well is true, is that I've stories as well about people that have not known, or people that have believed in a cure that was obviously, like, that's what the placebo is, right? They believed in a cure that wasn't actually doing anything, and they recovered, again, through the thought process alone. The people who live in fear of disease are people who will get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays open to the entrance of disease. While impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habits of thought will produce their own effects, good or bad, upon it. This is so true. There's so many different things that are coming to mind. Maxwell Maltz, I've talked about him, the author of Psycho-Cybernetics. He was a plastic surgeon, and he would see, after doing surgery on certain people to remedy their scars on the face, they still felt ugly. And he would show them these two pictures of before and after and be like, yes, doctor, like, I see the difference, but I don't feel any different. And it's because their thoughts hadn't changed. That was the key differentiating factor. And that's why Maxwell Maltz went from, his surgery practice into writing, coming up with cybernetics, which has helped tons and tons of people. It's one of the OG books in terms of self-image, self-concept. And I'm going to actually bring some of that content here soon so that we can discuss it, because it's extremely, extremely important. I mean, it's foundational for the self-concept, a lot of the stuff that he talks about. So strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. Yes, and it's a plastic instrument. Okay. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and corrupt body. That is the fountain of action, life and manifestation. Make the fountain pure and all will be pure. Because that is where everything springs from, is the internal. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Very interesting, because I notice myself, I don't like eating a lot of fried food anymore. I haven't for years. And a lot of desserts and things like that are very, very sugary, especially in America. A lot of European sweets, they don't use quite as much sugar. So I still do enjoy sweet things, but many of the desserts and candy bars and things in the United States, I don't actually enjoy eating them at all. And I found this to be true with other people as well. It's like once you start to begin to get more in tune with your body, you like to drink green juice. You like to eat cleaner because it just simply feels better. You don't want to be eating all this fat, all this sugar, and all of this, a lot of like the standard American diet. I mean, it doesn't even seem appealing anymore. It's not even appealing. Clean thoughts make clean habits. The so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. If you would perfect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind. Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. It's a destructive state, as is said in Tufti by Vadim. A sour face does not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is a result of a sweet and sunny disposition. The other is the outcome of passion and discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. On the faces of the aged, there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and pure thought, and others are carved by passion. Who cannot distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed, like the setting sun. I have recently seen a philosopher on his deathbed who was not old except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There's no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There's no comforter to compare with goodwill for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison hole. But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all, such unselfish thoughts are the very portals of heaven. And to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace toward every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessor. That's why I talk about like harboring those thoughts of like ill will and ill intent towards people is like, you're really just, it's the reason that you want to forgive, or the reason that you want to just let go of those things is for yourself. So even if you look at it from a selfish viewpoint, it's in your own interest to let go of that, because that is what is those lower vibrations of consciousness that we're talking about that are actually deteriorating to the body and to your health. Okay, so thought and purpose. Until thought is linked with purpose, there's no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority of bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. And this is talked about at length in Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Those who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead just as surely and deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. This is exactly what we were discussing the other day. If there is not growth, there is deterioration. You see it all across the universe, and that goes for our inner world as well. If we are not cultivating, if we do not have a goal, a project, an overarching theme by which we are being guided, we are going to devolve into, like he says, these petty worries, fears, troubles, self-pityings. That's the beauty of self-development that I talk about so much. It's even if you don't know your exact purpose, even if you're not completely sure of what it is that you feel called to do in this life, the simple beginnings of self-development, which include taking care of your body, making sure that you're taking care of it, because it is the house which you've been blessed with that is going to be with you for the rest of time until you die, right? This vessel that we've been blessed with, taking care of it, taking care of your diet, taking care of your mind, fostering the mind, taking in good information, watching in videos that inspire you, taking in good content, learning, seeking, having a curious mind. Self-development is going to propel you, and then by taking steps towards becoming that better version of yourself, more than likely you will find that goal along the path. And that's what's so amazing about self-development, is that it is going to curtail against these things. The mind won't have time for all of the bullshit that the mind engages in, whether it's towards your SP, whether it is towards your money situation, your career. And you notice when you sit around, that's when this overactive monkey mind, devil on the shoulder, whatever you want to call it, gets in your ear, or you're more easily swayed by negative voices, whether it's people in your environment, whether it's some bullshit that you're seeing when you're scrolling. But when you begin to focus on yourself and show up for yourself, and that's when you start taking creative control over your thoughts, over your life. So it's what he's saying here is just so true. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object, which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and to concentration of thought. They say that, what is that quote? Idle hands are the devil's playthings, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. I think I'm butchering it, but you get what I'm saying. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought, even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome. And that's what Maxwell Maltz talks about, that failure, you're almost guaranteed failure along this path, right? You're going to run into these obstacles, stoicism. And that is what is going to bring you closer and closer. Strength of character is going to be gained. That's what James Allen is saying. The strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success. And that's what it's all about, guys. That's what manifesting is about too, and getting your goals. It's more about the person you're becoming, the person embodying that version of yourself. That's the real deal. Because the outer circumstance, you could win the lottery. You could happen to run into an amazing person and you guys hit it off and you have that honeymoon phase, right? But until you shift the inner being of who you are, you're not going to sustain those results. That's why people lose the lottery all the time. People that get the manifestations, they're not able to be a container to contain that new manifestation, because it has to be done by, James Allen uses the words, by crucifying yourself. You don't need to go that extreme with it, but purifying the self, the alchemy of the self, the forging that new character, that new version, that best version of yourself that is able to maintain and sustain these results in their life. That's the beautiful thing that we're doing. We are our greatest works of art. developing the self into the ultimate version that we can. That is our greatest task here that we've been given. And that version of ourselves is the one that will be able to draw forth, but also maintain those manifestations that we're looking for. And this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. And yeah, that's exactly right. Once we achieve this, once we do this, once we, by embodying this in the world, by acting, by doing, then our new baseline is up here. We're going to be like, oh, I don't even know that old version of myself. I don't even recognize them anymore. And now it's going to be that much easier for us to build upon that and achieve more and more. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Vadim Zeland talks about this in Transurfing, that you must do your best in your current circumstances. That is how, because the person that is just, again, shifting, looking, oh, I'm at this job, I hate this job sucks, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here. Well, now you're not present anymore. Now you're focusing on these inharmonious thoughts, which are only going to lead you down these roads and paths that are not going to serve you. But if you do with diligence what is in front of you right now, if you embrace your current reality right now and do the best that you can, be present in the moment and actually do the things, you will go to new lifelines that will be improved. That's what Vadim Zeland talks about in Transurfing. But going back to the text for this, no matter how insignificant their task may appear, only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed. That is how we cultivate that resoluteness. Which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Right, we're using that. We're using whatever task is in front of us, whatever job, whatever vocation we're currently in, as a channel by which to cultivate our character, by which to become resolute, by which to become focused, by which to become that version of ourselves, bringing that kingly version of ourselves, that godly version of ourselves, whatever it is that makes you that best version into the now. And now that version is doing what it is that we're doing. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness and believing that this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will, thus believing at once, begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, never cease to develop, and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness, and the gym is a really great metaphor for working with the mind as well, because we don't go to the gym one time and expect that we're going to just all of a sudden be this epitome of aesthetic perfection, right? We're the same thing with the mind, the same thing with working with these beliefs. For whatever reason, we think when it comes to the mind, we're like, I thought this and now everything should be, forever in order. Like we don't want to go over with the repetition, but with the gym, with other things, we accept that, look, I need to go to the gym consistently in order to get the results that I'm looking for. So we need to apply the same type of thinking to working with the mind. To put away aimlessness and weaknesses and begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterly. That's what Neville Goddard talks about. That's maintaining the knowing, regardless of what's going on. Maintaining the end, knowing it into being. Look, this person's doing this, it's all good. I know what I'm deserving of. I know that I'm deserving of being loved. I know that I'm deserving of being treated better, whether it's in this job situation, whether it's in this relationship situation. And I'm knowing it into being. I'm going to feel good. I'm choosing to feel good right now. I'm not going, and that is what that version of yourself is going to do. They're going to recommit to focus on the knowing and that feeling good and amazing about where it is that they're going, because they know that they're creating that for themselves. Having conceived of this purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements, which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, and useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. That's not to say that, like, again, we don't want to be beating ourselves up just because we have some thoughts of doubts, thoughts of fear. We're human, okay? So what he's saying, he's using very strong language here, but we have to, even if we do feel those things, redirect our focus to the purpose, to our ends that we are creating and that we know that we're creating. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. So that means that if you're lulling about in this apathetic thing, well, oh, it never works out for me and blah, 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 what is that doing? You're encouraging them. You're going to be thwarted at every step, as he says. You must slay them, in the words of James Allen. And the way that we do that is by using, one of the great ways is really using what John Kehoe talks about, using the power of inserting any thought of our choosing into our mind. Knowing that we have the power to either entertain any thought or dismiss it, and then reaffirming in that new story for ourselves. And robotic affirming is one way to reference this, but another way to reference it is just, okay, I'm rewriting the story. Actually, that's not serving me. These thoughts are not serving me. It has to be a conscious choice. That's why it takes some mental strength, some fortitude to deal with this stuff. Because if you're looking at your reality and you're saying, this person's not acting this way, why does this always happen to me? The tendency is to do that and to want to blame the outside. But it's really you. It really is, the power starts with you. So when you think, okay, this is happening, how did this get here? How did I get to this point? Well, maybe it's because I've been entertaining these ideas that I'm not in control. This idea that, I don't get the relationships that I want. This idea that things are hard. Well, maybe if I start to shift the story and start to show up for myself in this way, that's saying, hey, look, you know what? I'm claiming it into being. I know that I can do this. I know that I'm a valuable person. I know that I'm worthy of respect. I know that I'm worthy of love. I know that I'm worthy of being treated properly. And I know that my reality, when I begin to do this for myself, when I treat myself with respect, when I love myself, and when I treat myself as a worthy human being who is worthy of the goodness that this life has to offer, all these other people are getting these good relationships. All these other people are getting these good career opportunities, this good money situation. There's plenty of money out here. There's plenty of abundance out here. So there's no reason that I can't also tap into this. And once you begin to claim that into being and start showing up for yourself in that way that is congruent with that claim that you're making, you know that this is going to fall into place. And it's only a matter of time. But it's staying consistent with this, consistent with your mental diet, consistent with this feeling state that feels good about yourself. And again, that's why the good habits throughout the day are really valuable, because now you're beginning to do those things for yourself. You're not doing it to get that person, to get that money, to get that career. You're doing it for you. And it begins to compound. It's just like I said, going to the gym. You're gonna start seeing results over time with this stuff. Okay. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. What is James Allen saying? So he's saying, thought allied fearlessly to purpose. So when you combine your purpose with your thought, and let's say that is that we're bringing in this amazing relationship to ourselves. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering and thoughts and fluctuating sensations of wavering, oh, I don't know, and why does this happen, and what about this situation, what about this circumstance? You're saying, fuck all that, because We are becoming the conscious and intelligent wielder of our mental power. We are the author of the story. We are the star of the story. And we are claiming a different story. Basically the idea that certainty, Wallace D. Wattles talks about the certainty, doing things in a certain way with that certainty. And we do this by, again, it's a process. It's mentally, day in, after day, doing it in the mirror can help. Embodying good habits, good routines can help. All of this together makes up a new person. We really are becoming a new person while we're doing this, a new version of ourselves. All right, we're gonna finish out strong here. Thought factor in achievement. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity, are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another. And they can only be altered by himself, never by another. There's a lot this makes me think of. His condition is also his own and not another man. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. This is important, guys. This is, again, this is the shades of gray, right? This is some of the issues that I have with the law of assumption community. Because just as much as we are creating, the stuff that Neville Goddard talks about is absolutely real. The thing is that in their own realities, other people are also the creators of their own reality. And so if you are dealing with somebody, it could be a person, an employee, it could be the person that you're in a relationship with, it could be a friend. And no matter how much goodwill you have towards this person, how much of a positive influence and voice you've been to this person, at a certain point in time, there comes a time where, like James Allen is saying, he or she has to be willing to be helped. And the weak person must become strong themselves. By their own efforts, develop the strength which they admire in another. None but themselves can alter their condition. And so that means that another way of looking at this too is that, so you can't help those who don't want to be helped. Another way of looking at this is like, here's the thing, you can manifest and achieve that short term, but will it be sustained? Because if the other person isn't willing to play their part, if they're unwilling to be a respectful person, let's say in your relationship, or if the employee is unwilling to come to work on the appointed time, then it's time you find a new employee. It's time you find a new person, because they're not going to just, no matter how much of this mental fortitude and mental resilience and strength and creative power that you have, if they're not willing to do the work, if they're not willing to show up, it's a fruitless battle that you're fighting. And that's the issue that I take with these, this overarching, very dogmatic approach. So again, this is like, it's taking responsibility. The condition is your own, and the condition is his own, he says, and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. And so you can't, no matter how much, there's just certain aspects, certain people that no matter how much you want them to, you want the best for them, let's say, they're not willing to rise to the occasion. They're not willing to step out of that. It could be, I have friends and certain people that are addicted to drugs, right? You can imagine, you can do all the imaginable work, but there's only so far you can get with people sometimes. And that's what I want. That's why we must practice discernment. And so with certain people, Is it really that you want this person in your life? Some of you guys are trying to manifest a relationship with somebody who's already treated you badly, who is already disrespectful to you, and you really got to get in tune and in touch with your own belief systems, your own patterns that you're playing out, to understand, why is it that I want this person? A lot of people, once we really begin to start doing this self-concept work, once we begin to work on this sense of self, build this belief in ourselves, and rewrite our stories about who we are and what it is that we want in our life, and we begin to do this self-development, craft a good routine, we're eating well, we're treating ourselves well, we are taking in good things. A lot of people, you will find a lot of people that actually, even in the law of assumption community, that are like, I actually don't even want this person anymore, right? Because you know that you can get something better. You know that you deserve better. You know that you deserve better than the way that that person was showing up. And not to say that that's every single time. It may be that you can bring that person and they begin showing up as a better version of themselves. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that we need to practice this discernment and be willing and open to new possibilities, that we can attract high quality people once we begin showing up for ourselves. We're high quality, and therefore we're attracting higher quality people. We don't have to settle for something or somebody from this place of desperation, from this place of lack, where we're saying, I need this person to meet my needs because that's the person that I picked. And in many cases, it's coming from that sense of desperation and lack, that's saying, this person is here, is gonna meet my needs. When we begin to meet our own needs, when we begin to do the things we're talking about, that we talked about in this video, that we talked about in general on this channel, we're gonna have that better discernment, and we're gonna be able to choose the people that we do want to have in our lives. And it's the same thing with the content and all these inputs that we're taking in, right? When we practice that discernment, we'll be like, okay, I actually don't wanna watch this show anymore. I actually don't wanna eat those foods anymore. I actually wanna start eating this. I actually wanna start listening to this instead, right? And this happens all across the board for everything that we're taking in our life and everything that we're around. So, very important point that I wanted to make here. Okay, continuing on. It has been usual for men to think and to say, many men are slaves because one is an oppressor. Let us hate the oppressor. Now, however, there is amongst an increasing few a tendency to reverse this judgment and to say one man is an oppressor because many are slaves. Let us despise the slaves. The truth is that oppressor and slave are cooperators in ignorance, and while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves. A perfect knowledge perceives the action of law and the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. A perfect love, seeing the suffering which both states entail, condemns neither. A perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. Interesting. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thoughts belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in his worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it must at least be sacrificed. So there's an acknowledgement here that we are human and that we do have this primal nature to us. And so it's not to just constantly beat ourselves up all the time. It's that a portion, like he says, must be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial indulgence could never think clearly nor plan methodically. He could not find and develop his latent resources and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced to manfully control his thoughts, he is not in a position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibilities. He is not fit to act and independently and stand alone, but he is limited only by the thoughts which he chooses. So here we go with embracing responsibility and how empowering that can be, or that is. It really is. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes, the greater will be his success. The more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious. Although on mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so, it helps the honest, magnanimous, and virtuous. All the great teachers of the ages have declared this in various forms, and to prove and know it, a man has to persist in making himself more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. Intellectual achievements are the result of thought consecrated to the search for knowledge, or for the beautiful and true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are the natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and of pure and unselfish thoughts. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. So what he's saying is that even those who have achieved worldly achievements, we can look at people in the world that have achieved a lot of success in business, success in athletics, success in the world of entertainment. Anybody that we see that's a public figure, anybody that comes to mind for you personally, even people that that just have great relationships, that have an amazing impact on the people around them. These things come about from long, arduous effort and from pure and often I agree with that, unselfish thoughts, because one of the methods with which I mentioned this earlier, but even with business, this is something that I've found to be true. But the more that you are able to help people, that essentially is what business is. It's solving people's problems. So when Elon Musk, for example, presented Tesla, and I've talked about how, Elon Musk, relatively speaking, for the industry that he wanted to go into, which was an electric car company, starting a brand new company, going into space and these things, he didn't have that much money. Yeah, he had money by the standards of your average person. He had tons of money, but not by those standards, right? Everything's relative. And so by him presenting that, look, we're going to do all these things for the world. We're going to change the world. This is going to be in the benefit to humanity. He was able to deliver, and he is consistently able to continue to deliver, because what you could liken it to of pure and unselfish thoughts. You don't have to necessarily agree or like Elon Musk to understand that his viewpoint and the lens through which he's acting is in the benefit of mankind, and he believes that he's acting in the benefit of mankind, as do many people. Even Jeff Bezos, who you could argue is much more selfish, he's created a service that has benefited millions of people all around. Every day, people are able to get better service, delivery of goods and products that they want in a much easier method than was done previously. Instead of having to go to the store, now you can get something delivered 2-day shipping. Sometimes they even deliver same day, right? So Amazon has been a helpful thing in people's lives. And so essentially, when you are even in the world of business or even in a worldly attainment, you are using this long, arduous effort that James Allen is referring to. And in many cases, it is because you are benefiting. It is to the degree which you are benefiting others that you are benefiting yourself. And that's what Vadim Zeland talks about in Transurfing as well. The more of an impact that you have, he calls it frailing. The more that you can tie in your own goals, encapsulate the intention of others so that they're benefiting within your own goal, the more likely that you are to succeed and to achieve, and to also secure the help and the support of others along your path. So continuing on, we're almost done. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts, who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon is full, become wise and noble in character and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. Achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in business, intellectual, or the spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought. and are governed by the same law and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would accomplish much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Visions and ideals. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solitary dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as they realities which it shall one day see and know. Exactly. He's going to mention here: composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage. These are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart, will one day realize it. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and he discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of a multiplicity of worlds in a wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha beheld the vision of a spiritual world of stainless beauty and perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions, cherish your ideals, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, and the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. To desire is to obtain, to aspire is to achieve. Shall man's basest desires receive the fullest measure of gratification, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustenance? Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Ask and receive. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The greatest achievement was at first and for a time a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and the highest vision of the soul a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of realities. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain. So if you cannot, it's interesting because the end of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, I think the movie, he uses the same quote, and then he finishes it off with what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. And it's super powerful. When I saw that, I was like, this is, but I think he got that from this book. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so if you perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth hard-pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally, builds up an ideal condition of life, the vision of a wider liberty, and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. And again, I really think this right here is what is being conveyed here is what Neville Goddard's true meaning of the taking no action, or that whole concept, is that when you begin to, like he says, conceive of mentally, build up this condition of life, a wider liberty, a larger scope, what Neville calls feeling from the wish fulfilled, that urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare times, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. So that by dwelling on that, you will now be, and you can take steps towards your goal. And that is what we should do once we begin to envelop and embody that new awareness. Very soon so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Earlier on, we were just discussing situations falling out of your life. And that's what will happen with people as well. When you begin to begin to be this new version of yourself. Those people that are not meant for you, those people that once upon a time you were like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? They will just simply fall out of your life because now you are attracting better things, bigger and better things into your life. And that goes for people as well. It falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside, and with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. Years later, we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequaled power. In his hands, he holds cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their characters, and sun-like, he becomes the fixed and luminous center round which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. Man, I'm getting goosebumps from reading this because it's like he's become this person of impact. And you too, youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the idle wish of your heart, be it base or beautiful or a mixture of both. For you will always gravitate toward that which you secretly most love. Into your hands will be placed the exact results of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you earn, no more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. In the beautiful words of Stanton Kirkham Davis, you may be keeping accounts, and presently you shall walk out of the door that for so long has seemed to you the barrier of your ideals, and shall find yourself before an audience, the pen still behind your ear, the ink stains on your fingers, and then and there shall pour out the torrent of your inspiration. You may be driving sheep, and you shall wander to the city, bucolic and open-mouthed, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of the Spirit into the studio of the Master, and after a time he shall say, I have nothing more to teach you, and now you have become the Master, who did so recently dream of great things while driving sheep. You shall lay down the saw and the plane to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. The thoughtless, the ignorant, the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of things and not the things themselves. That's what we talk about so much, guys. The inner world, the 4D, is the true world. This is just the reflection. And not the things themselves talk of luck, of fortune, and chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they say, how lucky he is. Observing another become intellectual, they say, how highly favored he is. And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark how chance aids him at every turn. They do not see the trials and failures and struggles which these men have voluntarily encountered in order to gain their experience, have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, and the undaunted efforts they have put forth, of the faith they have exercised, that they might overcome the apparently insurmountable and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heartaches. They only see the light and the joy and call it luck. They do not see the long and arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is the measure of the result. Chance is not. Gifts, powers, material, intellectual, and spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts completed, objects accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by, and this you will become. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the most beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being. For such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve. and remains poised, steadfast, and serene. A man becomes strong in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being, because such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops this understanding, he sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect. He ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised, steadfast, and serene. This right here is encompassing what we talk about so much on this channel. I always give you guys this visual aid here, which is in between. We have this calmness, or you could call it composed, neutrality. There's a lot of words you could use. It's stable, the stabilized, being in the inner equilibrium. You probably heard me, if you're familiar with my videos, refer to it in these various ways. So again, this is also what Stoics call indifference. This is what in alchemy they call it not falling into the rhythm aspect. Vadim Zeland in Transurfing would say not giving way to pendulums. There's many ways that this can be described, but essentially you could also call it presence of mind, presence of being, awareness, dwelling in that pure state of awareness, becoming the observer, becoming detached. There's, again, so many ways you could refer to this. The point, though, is that when we're in this state of inner equilibrium, the state that he is calling becoming calm, we're not going to fuss and fume. We're not going to worry and grieve. We're going to remain poised, steadfast, and serene. And that is also what Vadim Zeland calls the state of sweet harmony. Or you could also call it the state of, yes, poise. It could be that zest for life, because you're only going to have the zest for life if you are able to see the positive and able to see it in a positive manner. It's not this overly attached thing. The sweet harmony, harmonious. What does harmonious mean? It means things being in accordance with each other, in accord, right? So it's not the harmony is this balanced state. So when you know this, you are now in a place. That's what we talk about in all these different things. You're in a place where you're having the power. You're not at the whims, at the mercy of the outer world. Your inner and outer worlds are connected, right? So the more that you begin to embrace this inner state of equilibrium, the more that you will be able to cause, like James Allen is saying. Now you are at the cause rather than at the effect. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others. Because again, you're not getting reactive to all these little things that these people are doing. It's like they're little children running around, or squirrels, or animals, and you are like the calm oak tree. And they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. And so that means even when you see people that you see and they're passionate when they speak, they're coming on stage, they're talking, they're doing this. The thing is that inner calmness is still existing because they're able to take on so many stresses of life. There's so many people that are talking bad about them, so much hate they're getting. There's so much adulation that they're getting on the other side, and none of it is really phasing them that much. They're all just kind of staying centered throughout. They may get on stage, or they may be speaking, and they may be getting into what they're saying because they have that passion in what they're communicating. But it doesn't change the fact that inwardly, that inner composure, that inner equilibrium is not being swayed too much either way. And they're able to take on all that stress without being swayed, right? Energetically. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity. For people will always prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is strongly equitable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines, or what changes come to those possessing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold. How insignificant mere money seeking looks in comparison with a serene life. A life that dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the eternal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self-control. We see this happen all the time. How few people we meet in life who are well-balanced, who have that exquisite poise which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. So you are at the command of these things by embracing this way of being. And this is what the Stoics talk about. People interpret it like, oh, you're cut off with your emotions. It's not about that. It's about being the master of them. You don't reject the emotions, but you are at the helm of the ship. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatsoever conditions ye may live, know this is in the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does not sleep. Wake him. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still. And that is the end of the book. There's a parallel to this and the end of Vadim Zeland's Transurfing, because he talks about being, if you take one thing away from this book, it's to be in that state of sweet harmony, which is very much akin to what James Allen is saying with serenity, calmness. I think that Vadim Zeland even uses the same word, serenity. So what can we take away from this? We've covered a lot. I know this is a longer video. This is going to be so valuable though, because there's so many things being touched upon. So much of it is in parallel with the things that I've spoken about over the years on this channel. And so much of it, when we really begin to adopt it and apply it, this is why, you see people that are at the workplace, the boss that comes in and he might have been drinking and he starts yelling at the employees. People equate things like that with, logically right now, we can look at that as an observer outside of that perspective and be like, yeah, that's whack, right? That's not a strong person. But people that throw their weight around, they get away with it in the moment. And then by making others feel smaller, by doing this, they're able to manipulate their environment. But that is not the character of a strong character. And we know that when we observe this, right? But when we get caught up in situations like this, we're like, because of the scarcity, I suppose, because of our programming that's making us look and cower in front of people like this, that's not strength. That is weakness masquerading as strength. And so when you see people like this, whether it's people that you know in your life, a boss that you may have had, those people are weak people. This is what strength is. This is what, when you have this control and then you are an inspiring light for others or a shade-giving tree. There's many analogies that could be used for this, but that is where you were able to wield this, what James Allen is talking about. I mean, you can think about it so many ways, whether you think about it as thought, you're able to wield and control over your attention. We know that by studying this stuff, and as is said right here, because we are a result of the thoughts, because the outer world is connected to the inner world, and the inner world must change first, it does us no good to get triggered. It does us no good to blow up at people. It does us no good to lash out and blame and say, hey, why did you do this? You're being like this. With our relationships, with our partnerships, in our families, with our children, with our boss, at the workplace, it's never a good idea to give in to those in the moment reactions, triggers, whatever they are, what serves us is because we're creating more of that. And like you said, you're causing bad blood. Even if you just look at it on a very practical level, you're making enemies, you're burning bridges. The calm and centered person realizes that because of this world of cause and effect that we live in, and that the outer reflects the inner, that there's no practical reason why we should be fussing and fuming and worrying and grieving, and we remain poised and steadfast. And we know into being the outcome that is that we want, the outcome that it is that we're creating in our life. We don't allow ourselves to stoop into these old negative stories, because that's what they are. They're old negative stories that we're allowing to play out because they have a mind of their own. They've got momentum behind them. And yeah, it happens. And every once in a while, it'll still happen. Even to the best of us, it can happen. And James Allen, he's admitting this. But the stronger of a person that you become, and especially men, when you see men that are doing this in the workplace and stuff, you want to avoid people like this, because these people are given to, like he says, their passions, and he's using passions in the negative connotation of it. It's like you don't know what's going to happen with these people, men or women. You never know when they're going to just blow their top, blow their lid. You don't know what they're up to. You don't know what's going on with these people, right? Because they haven't done this. They're flip-flopping back and forth like this, and they're at the whims and the mercies of their addictions. They could be, substances. It could be this. It could be just simply the fact that they're just very unstable. We want to cultivate this inner stability within ourselves, and then once we do that, we begin to see that it does have an effect on those around us. But we have to do it ourselves first. A lot of the time, it's not going to help to try to tell people to do this, or we can recommend books to people, we can share things, but ultimately people have to come to this of their own accord. And that's what James Allen says earlier in the book as well, right? And we want to begin to be selective and discerning with the people that we choose, the content that we're taking in. If we're constantly taking in the lowest of the low level stuff, which is unfortunately what's out here on social media, you're scrolling, you're seeing memes, all this stuff about cheating, and when it comes to relationships, there's all this stuff, right? There's also, when it comes to just a lot of things, what are we taking in? It really is having an effect. And it's not to say that we can never engage in that stuff or never watch that stuff, but you really, once you begin to cultivate that inner tranquility, that inner serene, calm, that poised inner equilibrium that we're talking about, now you can actually be more discernment with the information that you're taking in. You're not just absorbing it in this kind of like fog, like you're in a daze, and it's kind of like, as a collective, it seems like people in today's day and age are simply like regurgitating and reciting what they've been hearing from other people without allowing it to pass through their critical thinking, without critically thinking about it themselves and saying, does this make sense? Is this what I think, or am I just regurgitating what somebody else said? Am I just saying this because I saw it on Instagram, I saw it on TikTok, I heard somebody talking about this on YouTube? And so the more that we cultivate this ability to be in this, to embody what James Allen is talking about here, the more that we are going to really begin to, and again, that comes in too with like, what is our purpose? Are we on this path of growth? Are we trying to develop ourselves? Are we on a journey of developing ourselves into the best version that we can be? Because without it, idle hands, if we're idly doing and scrolling, that's when all these negative thoughts and negative voices get sucked into our head and sucked into our consciousness. And then we're simply reflecting that negativity back out, and we're projecting more of the same. There's a quote too in Vadim Zeland that's like, when you keep looking at the external and your focus is only on the external, your life will begin to deteriorate, because as you see things in the outer environment, because there's all this negative stuff coming in. If you keep observing such a thing, such an outer reality or such a life, if you're not cultivating this inner reality yourself and deciding what to focus on, what you're to place your attention on, what is your dominating in your awareness, you're going to devolve. And so spiritual development, self-development, personal development, where you are cultivating yourself, you're cultivating your mindset, you're choosing what it is that you want to allow into your life, into your consciousness. You're choosing what it is that you're creating in your life. You're exercising that creative control over the stories you're telling yourself, over what it is that you're bringing into your life, what it is that the way that you're showing up, and how the world is going to reflect that back to you. You're going to devolve. But if you do this and you engage in conscious control, you rise above. You become one of these people that he's talking about. This person that achievements, whether intellectual, whether spiritual, whether worldly, you become somebody that people can rely on. You become somebody that people can look to. A dreamer. He says that dreamers are the saviors of the world. You become that person that can actually put out your dreams and enact them into the physical, so that you're not just a person fantasizing and dreaming on the couch. You're creating it, and you are embodying it. And now you are the master of your fate. You're not being led by this down this path that everybody else is going down. You become one with your ideal. And so cultivating this, dwelling in this, thinking from the wish fulfilled, the things that Neville Goddard talks about, the things that Vadim Zeland talks about, the things that all of these people from this self-help industry and manifestation, from whether it's a manifestation angle, whether it's a more psychological angle, whatever lens you're looking at it through, it's all going in the same direction to say, hey, look, we have the ability to think, we have the ability to decide, to choose, and illuminate that upcoming reality, that upcoming frame. As Vadim Zeland says in Tufti the Priestess, it doesn't do us any good to sit and wait and hope and just be looking at the outside world for confirmation or validation. We have to create that and output it, and then we will begin to see that. And it can't be any other way. The world is made this way. It doesn't do us any good, like he said, to dwell in those other states. We begin to take that conscious control, and it's reminding ourselves constantly. And that's why the robotic affirming is helpful, because it's like, okay, we just do it through repetition. The subconscious responds through repetition. The same way that going to the gym, getting those weights, those reps in, it takes repetition. The same thing has to be done with the mind. And so that's what we're doing here. But I wanted to just end this. I didn't know if there was anything else that I wanted to say here at the end. I think that there's a lot that has been covered here. I will end it actually on this, and that is embodying that new version of yourself. And there's a I've mentioned Dylan James on this channel a bunch, because I think that he is I've watched his content. He really knows what he's talking about. And he has this story post here where he's talking about health, because we covered that in this part as well. And it's like, he has this story post, it's a highlight. It says, you know why you have to show up for yourself? And then it's written here. It says, is the gym gonna fix your problems? No. Is doing your skin and dental care gonna fix your problems? No. Is taking care of your personal space is gonna fix your problems? No. Is making better decisions with what you put in your body going to fix your problems? No. Is putting a routine to your day and completing what you commit to going to fix your problems? No. Now, maybe yes, in some regards to your health, your productivity, but I'm talking about your social problems. If you're not happy with yourself or feeling loved or valued, it doesn't matter what anyone else does for you. You're not doing these things to get something. It doesn't matter if you have a perfect body or perfect health or a perfect living situation. You're still just as worthy of love and attention and success in any shape or form. So why does it matter? You want people to show up for you, respect you, do things for you, even if that's not what they normally do or want to do, right? So that means you need to show up for yourself and do the things you don't want to do, because you deserve that type of love. That's why showing up is important. You're doing things you don't want to do, but need to do, because they can help you feel better with yourself. It's acts of love towards yourself. You're not doing this to gain. You're not doing it because you deserve that type of love, attention. You're doing it because you deserve that type of love, attention, and consistency. You want someone to go out of their way for you, and it begins with you. So you're doing this for yourself, to show yourself. You are to show up in that way for yourself, in the same way that you want others to show up for you. You're easy to love. You've always been lovable and worthy. It's time to show up for yourself consistently to truly see that. That's why these things are important. And I really like what he's written here. I think that this just is a testament to all the things I talk about when I talk about focusing on self-development, becoming the best version of yourself. By doing that, you're going to be a magnet for those goals, whether it's that person, whether it's that new job, whether it's that that money, that business, whether it's that physique, that state of health that you've been looking for. You're going to attract it because you are showing up for yourself. And that's really what James Allen's talking about when he says you must sacrifice. He says you must do these things. You must be this person. Only in the measure that you have sacrificed is that to be gained. And so by doing it, by embodying it and showing up as that version of yourself, like I said, you're going to be attracting it to you. That's the mental game. That's the mental game. And once you are doing the mental inner work and you show up and you're showing up as that version, reality is going to have to reflect it. Reality is a mirror. The inner and outer worlds are connected, and it's going to be like, wow, whatever your name is, they've been showing up for themselves. Oh, they've been loving themselves. They've been consistent for themselves. Okay, well, we better give them that then. They look like they're not actually stewing in that negative story anymore. So actually, we need to come through and actually give them what they've been doing. We need to, as they think, we need to give them what they've been thinking. As a man thinketh, right? As they've sowed, now you shall reap. So, with your thoughts and actions, you are cultivating your life on an ongoing moment-to-moment basis. And I know this is a long video. I hope that you guys have really gotten something out of this, as have I. I feel like when I do these readings and when I talk about this and I do these breakdowns, I've read this book before, but doing this and being here with you and putting out this energy here to support you guys and encouraging you on your path so that you develop better understandings. I feel like it helps. It's very helpful to me as well. It's really just like connecting these ideas and thinking about them and thinking about how we can apply them in our lives. I really enjoy it. And with that being said, guys, much love as always. Drop this video with a like, hit me with a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.